Park Min stood in the middle of the cold metal room on Coalition Station Kepler 442. His hands were locked behind his back with heavy metal cuffs that hurt his wrists. 3 alien guards watched him with angry eyes. The room smelled like cleaning chemicals and fear. The tallest guard had blue crystal skin that glowed when he was mad. His name was Officer Zektal, and he clearly hated humans. Behind him stood 2 other aliens. One looked like a giant bug, and the other had gray skin and no hair. All 3 wore the dark uniforms of the Galactic Tribunal. "Park Min of Earth," Zektal said in a voice like breaking glass. "You are under arrest for war crimes against innocent people." Park Min felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He knew how to stay quiet when things got bad. "What crimes?" he asked. Zektal's crystals got brighter. "You killed 3,000 innocent Zephyrian refugees. Men, women, and children who were running from war. You ordered your ships to destroy their transport vessel called Mercy's Dawn." "That's not true," Park Min said. The bug-like alien made a clicking sound. "We have video proof. We have audio recordings. We have witness reports. You cannot lie about this, human." They showed him a small screen. On it, Park Min watched grainy security footage that made his stomach feel sick. The video showed someone who looked exactly like him standing on a ship's bridge. The person on screen was giving orders to attack what looked like a helpless refugee transport ship. "Fire all weapons," the person in the video said in Park Min's own voice. "Destroy that ship now." Park Min watched the video 3 times. Something felt wrong about it, but he could not say what. The person looked like him. The voice sounded like him. Even the uniform was correct. But deep in his mind, something was screaming that this was not real. "I never said those words," Park Min told them. "I never gave that order." Zektal laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Typical human. You kill innocent people and then lie about it. Your kind is always violent. Always angry. Always destroying things." "Check the ship's full records," Park Min said. "Check all the sensor data. Check everything." "We have checked everything we need to check," the gray alien said. "The evidence is clear. You are guilty." Park Min felt cold fear in his chest. This was not just about one battle. This felt planned. Someone had worked very hard to make him look guilty. But who? And why? The door opened and another alien walked in. This one was different. She had kind eyes and moved like someone who cared about being fair. She wore the robes of a defense lawyer. "I am Attorney Velvats," she said in accented standard language. "I have been assigned to represent you, Colonel Park." "I don't need much help," Park Min said. "I just need someone to check the real evidence." Velvets looked at the guards. "I need to speak with my client alone." The guards left, but Park Min could see them watching through the clear door. Velvet sat down across from him at the metal table. "Colonel Park," she said quietly, "this case is very bad for you. The evidence looks complete. The tribunal members already think you are guilty before we even start the trial." "Because I'm human?" "Yes. Many alien species think humans are too violent to be trusted with military power. Some want to remove all humans from coalition military positions. Your case could be the excuse they need." Park Min thought about this. He had always known some aliens did not trust humans. Humans were newer to the galaxy than most species. They had a reputation for being quick to fight and slow to think. "But you believe me?" he asked. Velvets was quiet for a long moment. "I believe something is wrong with this case. The evidence is almost too perfect. In my experience, real evidence has mistakes and gaps. This evidence looks like someone created it very carefully. So I'm being set up." "Maybe. But proving that will be very hard. Whoever did this had access to high-level military records. They had advanced technology to create fake video and audio. They had the power to change witness statements." Park Min felt anger burning in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting mad would not help him now. He needed to think like a soldier and like the systems analyst he had been before joining the military. "Can I see all the evidence files?" he asked. "Yes, but why? You are not a lawyer." "No, but I am good with data and computers. Give me access to everything, the video files, the audio recordings, the sensor data, the communication logs." "Everything." Velvets looked confused. "What can you do that trained investigators cannot?" Park Min almost smiled. "I can do something very human. I can look at every piece of information until I find the truth. Humans are very good at not giving up. That could take weeks. Then we better start now." As Velvets gathered her papers to leave, Park Min looked out the small window at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there, someone had decided to destroy his life and reputation. They had picked the wrong human to mess with. Park Min had spent years studying how to find patterns in complex data. He had helped solve military problems that seemed impossible. Now he would use those same skills to solve the biggest problem of his life. He was going to prove his innocence, even if he had to go through every single piece of evidence one by one. Someone had made a mistake. They always did. He just had to find it. Attorney Velvets came back to see Park Min 3 days later. This time she looked worried. Her bug-like eyes moved back and forth as she sat down at the metal table. "Colonel Park, I have been studying your case files all night," she said. "Something is very wrong with the evidence against you." "What did you find?" Park Min asked. Velvets pulled out her data pad and showed him numbers and charts. "Look at these sensor readings from the day of the battle. The ship you destroyed, the Mercy's Dawn, had some very strange readings." Park Min looked at the screen. Even though the numbers were small and hard to read, he could see what she meant. "The mass readings are wrong." "Exactly. This ship was supposed to be carrying 3,000 refugees. But look at these numbers. The ship was much heavier than it should have been." Park Min studied the data more carefully. His training kicked in as he analyzed the information. A refugee transport carrying 3,000 people should weigh about 50,000 tons. But these readings show 85,000 tons. "And look at this," Velvet said, showing him more data. The ship's power readings were much higher than normal. A refugee ship only needs basic power for life support and engines. This ship was generating enough power to run weapons systems. Park Min felt hope for the first time in days. Someone hid this information in the original evidence files. "Yes. And that's not all. Your former teammates have been asking questions too." The door opened and 2 humans in coalition uniforms walked in. Park Min recognized them immediately, Sergeant Lee Ho and Corporal Kim Soo, 2 of his most trusted soldiers. They both looked angry. "Colonel," Lee Ho said, "this whole thing stinks worse than a garbage ship." "Tell me what you found," Park Min said. Kim Soo sat down and pulled out her own data pad. "We talked to everyone who was on duty that day. Half the witnesses have changed their stories since the first investigation." "Changed how?" "Lieutenant Park Jin was on the sensor station when you gave the order to fire. 3 weeks ago he said the target ship was definitely showing military signatures. Now he says it looked completely civilian." Lee Ho nodded. Commander Yang Bo was the communications officer. At first, he reported strange encrypted signals coming from the target ship. Now he says there were no suspicious communications at all. "Someone got to them," Park Min said. "Or threatened them," Kim Soo replied. "We tried to interview them again, but they were all suddenly transferred to different stations. Very far away stations." Velvets made notes on her pad. "This suggests the conspiracy involves people high up in the coalition command structure." "There's more," Lee Ho said. He looked around to make sure no one was listening through the door. "Kim Soo and I accessed some old maintenance records. 3 days before the battle, the Mercy's Dawn was visited by a repair ship. So, the repair ship installed new exterior plating. According to the work orders, they were fixing cosmetic damage to the hull." Park Min understood immediately. They were hiding weapons underneath fake civilian plating. "That's what we think," Kim Soo said. "A real refugee ship wouldn't need new hull plating. But a military ship pretending to be a refugee ship would need to hide its weapon ports." Velvets clicked her mandibles together, the way her species showed excitement. "If this is true, then the Mercy's Dawn was a hegemony warship disguised as a civilian transport. Which means killing it wasn't a war crime," Park Min said. "It was legitimate military action against an enemy combatant. But someone has worked very hard to hide this fact," Lee Ho said. "Someone with enough power to change official records, threaten witnesses, and create fake evidence." Kim Soo leaned forward. "Colonel, we think this goes way beyond just framing you for one incident. Someone is trying to get all humans removed from coalition military leadership positions." "Why?" "Think about it," she said. "Humans have been very successful in the coalition military. We've won several major battles against the hegemony. Some alien species are jealous. Others are worried that humans are getting too much influence." Velvets nodded slowly. "If they can prove that humans are war criminals, they can justify removing humans from important military positions. And I'm the test case," Park Min said. "Exactly. If they can convict you, they'll do the same thing to other human officers. One by one until there are no humans left in coalition leadership." Park Min felt anger burning in his chest again, but this time it was a cold, controlled anger. Someone was playing a very dangerous game with his life and the lives of his fellow humans. "Do we have enough evidence to prove what really happened?" he asked. Velvet shook her head. We have pieces but not enough to convince a tribunal. The fake evidence against you is too good. We need to find the source, who created the fake video and audio recordings. And who ordered the cover-up, Lee Ho added. I have an idea, Park Min said. Can you get me complete access to all the computer systems used during the investigation? That would be very difficult, Velvet said. Why? Because whoever set me up had to use coalition systems to create and plant the fake evidence. Digital files always leave traces, even when people try to delete them. I just need to dig deep enough to find those traces. Kim Soo smiled. The colonel was a computer systems expert before he became a soldier. If I can get access to the right files, I can trace exactly how the fake evidence was created. And more importantly, I can figure out who created it. Velvet looked uncertain. That kind of investigation could take weeks. Then we better get started, Park Min said. Someone tried to destroy my life. Now it's time to destroy theirs. Park Min sat alone in his cell with a small computer terminal. It had taken attorney Velvet's 3 days to convince the tribunal to give him access to the legal database. They thought he just wanted to read law books to help his defense. They had no idea what he really planned to do. The terminal was old and slow, but it was connected to the station's main computer network. Park Min smiled as he cracked his knuckles. For the first time since his arrest, he felt like he was back in control. He started with the video evidence that showed him giving the order to attack the Mercy's Dawn. The file looked normal on the outside, but Park Min knew how to look deeper. Every digital file had hidden information that most people never saw: creation dates, editing history, and technical details about how it was made. Park Min opened the video file's properties and found something interesting immediately. The video was supposedly recorded on March 15th during the battle. But the file's creation timestamp showed it was actually made on March 18th, 3 days after the battle. Gotcha, he whispered. He dug deeper into the file's code. The video had been edited many times, but someone had tried to hide this fact. Park Min found traces of 17 different editing sessions. Each time, small pieces of the video had been changed or replaced. The audio was even more suspicious. Park Min played his own voice from the recording over and over again. Something sounded wrong, but he could not figure out what. Then he remembered a technique from his computer training days. He ran the audio through a frequency analysis program. Normal human speech created specific patterns on the frequency display. But this audio had tiny gaps and repetitions that only appeared in artificially created speech. Voice synthesis, Park Min said to himself. They used my real voice samples to create fake speech. Over the next 4 days, Park Min worked 18 hours every day. He barely ate the food they brought him. He ignored the guards who watched him through the door. All his attention focused on the computer screen. He found more evidence of manipulation. The sensor logs from his ship had been changed in over 50 different places. Someone had systematically removed all references to the Mercy's Dawn's military signatures and replaced them with civilian readings. But whoever did this had made mistakes. When you change computer files, the old information doesn't completely disappear. It gets buried deeper in the system's memory. Park Min knew how to find those buried files. He discovered the original sensor readings that showed the Mercy's Dawn was definitely a warship. Its power signature matched hegemony battle cruisers. Its mass distribution was wrong for a refugee ship. Most importantly, it had been sending encrypted military communications right up until the moment Park Min destroyed it. You were a fake, Park Min said, looking at the hidden data. A wolf dressed like a sheep. The communication logs were the most revealing evidence. Park Min found deleted messages between coalition stations and unknown recipients. The messages were coded, but Park Min had studied military codes for years. One message made his blood run cold: human target selected. Operation Scapegoat approved. Proceed with evidence fabrication. Another message from 2 weeks later: Park Min frame successful. Begin phase 2 with next human target. Park Min sat back in his chair and rubbed his tired eyes. This was bigger than just framing him for one incident. Someone was planning to destroy the reputation of all human officers in the coalition military. He traced the messages through the computer network. The sender had tried to hide their identity using fake accounts and routing tricks. But Park Min had been studying computer security for years. Every message left traces like footprints in digital mud. The trail led him through a complex path of fake accounts and hidden servers. But eventually, all the messages traced back to one source: a computer terminal in the Coalition Command Center. The terminal was registered to Deputy Commander Cha Young, a human officer who worked in the intelligence division. Park Min frowned. Why would a human officer frame another human? He dug deeper into Cha Young's files and found something shocking. The man wasn't working alone. His computer showed regular communications with someone outside the coalition. Park Min traced these outside communications and discovered they led to known hegemony intelligence networks. Cha Young was a traitor, working with the enemy to destroy human influence in the coalition military. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. The hegemony couldn't defeat human military leaders in direct battle, so they decided to destroy them politically instead. They had convinced a traitorous human officer to help frame other humans for war crimes. Park Min found more evidence of the conspiracy. Financial records showed that Cha Young had received large payments from shell companies connected to hegemony intelligence. Communication logs revealed at least 6 other human officers were targeted for similar frame-ups. But the most damning evidence was a detailed plan document titled Operation Human Removal. The file outlined exactly how to create fake evidence, manipulate witnesses, and corrupt official records. It even included backup plans for what to do if the first frame-up failed. Park Min copied all the evidence onto secure storage devices. He organized everything into clear categories: fake video evidence, manipulated sensor data, deleted communications, financial records, and the master plan document. As he worked, Park Min felt both anger and satisfaction. Anger at the betrayal by one of his own species. Satisfaction at uncovering the truth through careful detective work. He had enough evidence to prove his innocence and expose the entire conspiracy. The challenge now would be presenting it in a way that the alien tribunal would understand and accept. Park Min looked at his collection of evidence files. He had hundreds of documents, audio files, video analyses, and data traces. Too much information for most people to understand quickly. Then he remembered something from his pre-military career. When he worked as a systems analyst, he had often needed to explain complex technical problems to non-technical managers. The best way to do that was with simple presentations that told a clear story. Park Min opened a presentation program and began creating slides. He would tell the story of his innocence one piece of evidence at a time, in a way that even alien judges could follow. Someone had tried to destroy him with lies and fake evidence. Now he would destroy them with truth and careful documentation. The tribunal room was huge and cold. Park Min walked to the center podium carrying only a small data pad. Around him sat 5 alien judges in tall chairs that made them look important and scary. Judge Mordak, the oldest one with wrinkled purple skin, looked down at Park Min like he was already guilty. "You may begin your defense, Colonel Park," Judge Mordak said in a bored voice. Park Min plugged his data pad into the room's display system. Behind him, a massive screen lit up with his first slide. The title read, Timeline Analysis, The Kepler Incident, a Case Study in Deception and Military Fraud. The judges looked confused. Judge Velkan, who had blue crystal skin like the guards, made an annoyed clicking sound. "What is this human doing?" "Presenting evidence, Your Honor," Park Min said calmly. "I request 2 hours to show you exactly what happened." 2 hours? Judge Mordak sounded shocked. "Most defense presentations take 15 minutes. This case requires more detail, Your Honor." Park Min clicked to slide 2. It showed a simple timeline of events leading up to the battle. On March 15 at 0800 hours, coalition sensors detected an approaching vessel identifying itself as the refugee transport Mercy's Dawn. The alien prosecutor, a tall creature with tentacles for arms, stood up. "Your Honor, we have already established these basic facts. Please let me continue," Park Min said. He clicked to slide 3, which showed technical specifications. A refugee transport carrying 3,000 people should have a mass of approximately 50,000 tons. The Mercy's Dawn showed a mass of 85,000 tons. Judge Mordak leaned forward slightly. "What does this mean?" "It means the ship was carrying 35,000 tons of equipment that refugee ships do not normally carry. Like weapons, armor, and military systems." Park Min clicked through more slides, each one building on the last. He showed power consumption charts, communication intercepts, and structural analysis. The judges started paying closer attention. "Slide 12 shows the ship's power signature," Park Min explained. "A refugee ship needs minimal power for life support and basic systems. This ship was generating enough power to operate heavy weapons and military shields." Judge Kretal, who looked like a giant insect, made a buzzing sound. "How do we know this data is accurate?" "Because I recovered it from deleted files in our own computer systems," Park Min said. "Someone tried to hide this information, but deletion doesn't completely erase data." He clicked to slide 15, which showed before and after versions of the same sensor reading. This is what the original sensors recorded. This is what appeared in the official evidence file. Someone changed the military signatures to civilian readings. The judges began whispering among themselves in various alien languages. The prosecutor looked nervous and started checking his own files. Park Min continued methodically through his slides. He showed how the video evidence had been artificially created using voice synthesis technology. He displayed the hidden editing timestamps that proved the evidence was manufactured after the battle, not during it. Slide 23 shows frequency analysis of my alleged voice recording, Park Min said. Real human speech creates smooth wave patterns. Artificial speech has small gaps and repetitions. The voice in the evidence recording is clearly synthetic. Judge Mordak was no longer looking bored. You are claiming the video evidence is completely false? Yes, Your Honor. And I can prove it. Park Min clicked to slide 28, which showed the digital fingerprints of the fake video. Every editing program leaves unique traces in the files it creates. This video was created using military-grade editing software that is only available to intelligence agencies. The prosecutor stood up again. Your Honor, this is highly technical information that proves someone with high-level access framed me, Park Min interrupted. He clicked to slide 31. These are deleted communication logs I recovered from Coalition Command computers. The screen showed a series of encrypted messages. Park Min had decoded them and displayed the translations alongside the originals. Human target selected. Operation Scapegoat approved. Proceed with evidence fabrication, Park Min read aloud. The tribunal room became completely silent. Judge Velkan's crystals were glowing brighter. Where did these messages come from? From Deputy Commander Cha Young's personal computer terminal, Park Min said. He clicked to slide 35. Here are financial records showing payments to Commander Cha from shell companies connected to Hegemony Intelligence Services. The prosecutor was now frantically going through his own files, looking confused and worried. Park Min continued to slide 40. This is the master plan document I found in the Coalition intelligence files. It's called Operation Human Removal. It details exactly how to frame human officers for war crimes. The document appeared on screen, showing a step-by-step guide for creating false evidence and manipulating witnesses. The judges read it in shocked silence. The hegemony couldn't defeat human military leaders in battle, Park Min explained. So they decided to remove us politically by making us look like war criminals. Judge Mordak's voice was quiet. You are saying this was all a conspiracy? Yes, Your Honor. The Mercy's Dawn was a hegemony warship disguised as a refugee transport. It was sending targeting data to enemy forces right up until I destroyed it. Destroying it saved Coalition lives and was completely legal under military law. Park Min clicked to his final slide. In conclusion, the evidence clearly shows that I engaged and destroyed an enemy combat vessel that was actively participating in attacks on Coalition forces. The real war crime was the hegemony's use of fake civilian identities to hide military operations. The tribunal room was completely quiet. Park Min looked at each judge in turn. Judge Mordak was reading something on his personal data pad. Judge Velkan's crystals were pulsing slowly. Judge Kretal was clicking her mandibles nervously. Finally, Judge Mordak looked up. Colonel Park, this presentation is extremely thorough. Truth requires detail, Your Honor. Indeed it does. Judge Mordak looked at the prosecutor. Do you have any response to this evidence? The prosecutor looked defeated. Your Honor, we need time to review these new findings. I think you will find that everything I showed you can be verified independently, Park Min said. The truth is all there in the computer systems. You just have to know how to look for it. As the judges dismissed the court to deliberate, Park Min felt calm for the first time in weeks. He had done what humans do best. He had looked at a complex problem and solved it with careful analysis and systematic presentation of facts. The truth was finally free. The 5 judges came back in less than 1 hour. Park Min had never seen a tribunal decide so quickly on such a serious case. Judge Mordak looked tired but determined as he spoke to the packed courtroom. This tribunal has carefully reviewed all evidence presented by Colonel Park Min, Judge Mordak announced. His voice echoed in the large room. We find him completely innocent of all war crime charges. The courtroom exploded with noise. Some aliens cheered, others looked shocked, and a few seemed angry. Park Min felt his legs shake with relief, but he kept standing straight like a soldier. Furthermore, Judge Mordak continued, We officially commend Colonel Park for his heroic defense of coalition civilian populations against hegemony military deception. Judge Velkin stood up, her crystals glowing bright blue. The evidence shows that Colonel Park destroyed an enemy warship that was actively attacking coalition forces. His actions saved hundreds of lives. More importantly, said Judge Cretal, clicking her mandibles, Colonel Park has exposed a dangerous conspiracy that threatened the entire coalition military structure. As the judges spoke, security officers moved through the courtroom. Park Min watched as they arrested Deputy Commander Cha Young, who had been sitting in the back trying to look invisible. Cha Young's face was white with fear as they put handcuffs on him. The traitor Cha Young and his hegemony contacts are now in custody, Judge Mordak said. They will face trial for treason, conspiracy, and violations of interstellar law. Attorney Velvets leaned over to Park Min. You did it, she whispered. Your presentation saved not just yourself, but probably dozens of other human officers. After the trial, Park Min walked free for the first time in 3 weeks. The station corridors felt different now. Alien crew members who had avoided him before now nodded respectfully as he passed. Some even stopped to shake his hand. Sergeant Lee Ho and Corporal Kim Soo were waiting for him outside the tribunal building. Both were grinning widely. Colonel? Lee Ho shouted. You destroyed them with charts and graphs. I heard Judge Velkin tell someone that human evidence presentation is the most thorough she's ever seen, Kim Soo added. She said aliens need to learn from human analytical methods. 3 months later, Park Min stood in Admiral Chen's office on the main coalition command station. The admiral, a stern woman with gray hair, smiled as she handed him new rank insignia. Congratulations, Colonel Park. You're being promoted to general and assigned to head our new evidence analysis division. Thank you, Admiral. Your presentation methods have revolutionized how we handle military justice cases, Admiral Chen continued. The Coalition Council has mandated that all major court cases now require Park Min standard evidence analysis. What does that mean? Complete data verification, timeline reconstruction, and systematic presentation of all findings. No more quick judgments based on limited evidence. Admiral Chen walked to her window, which showed the busy space lanes around the station. Your PowerPoint presentation has been distributed to every military academy in coalition space. It's required study material now. Park Min looked surprised. My presentation? The presentation that saved the Alliance, is what they're calling it. Military historians say it's the most important legal document in coalition history. I just showed them the truth. Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful. 2 weeks later, Park Min visited the Coalition Military Academy on Proxima Station. Commander Na Yu, his former intelligence officer, was now director of training. She gave him a tour of the new human analysis methods classroom. Inside, 20 alien cadets sat at desks staring at computer screens with confused expressions. They were trying to create their first evidence presentation using human methods. This is impossible, complained a young Vexery student. Humans want 47 slides just to prove one simple fact? Why do they need so many charts and graphs? Asked an Altarian cadet. Can't they just tell us what happened? The instructor, a patient Thylorian professor, shook his head. Human analytical methods are different from ours. They don't just prove something is true. They prove it so completely that questioning it becomes impossible. Commander Na smiled at Park Min. The cadets find human methods very difficult at first. But graduation rates have improved dramatically since we started teaching systematic evidence analysis. What do you mean? Before your presentation, about 60% of cadets passed their final examinations. Now 95% pass. When you teach students to analyze everything carefully, they make fewer mistakes. Park Min watched a Muntaran cadet finally figure out how to create a proper timeline chart. The insect-like student's compound eyes lit up with understanding. I see the pattern now, the Muntaran clicked excitedly. Each piece of evidence connects to the next piece. It tells a complete story. Exactly, the instructor said. Human analytical methods create chains of proof that are very difficult to break. Later that day, Park Min attended a special ceremony in the Academy's main hall. Admiral Chin presented him with the Coalition Medal of Honor, the highest award for military service. General Park Min, the Admiral announced to the crowded hall, has not only cleared his own name, but has given the Coalition military a new standard for truth and justice. The audience, hundreds of alien officers and cadets, stood and applauded. Park Min saw respect in their eyes instead of the suspicion he had faced before. As he stood at the podium to give his acceptance speech, Park Min thought about how much had changed. A few months ago, many aliens had viewed humans as too aggressive and violent for military leadership. Now they were copying human methods and learning from human analytical skills. "Thank you for this honor," Park Min said to the audience. "I hope my experience shows that truth always wins when you look for it carefully enough." In the back of the hall, Park Min saw the young alien cadets from the analysis class. They were taking notes on his speech, probably planning to turn it into a presentation with charts and graphs. He smiled. The galaxy had learned that humans didn't just fight with weapons. They fought with data, evidence, and systematic analysis. And sometimes, that was the most powerful weapon of all.